we heard from Donald Trump in our case against him, other defendants, and the Trump organization. He rambled, he hurled insults, but we expected that. At the end of the day, the documentary evidence demonstrated that, in fact, he falsely inflated his assets to basically enrich himself and his family. He continued to persistently engage in fraud. The numbers don't lie. And Mr. Trump obviously can engage in all of these distractions, and that exactly what he did, what he committed on the stand today, engaging in distractions and engaging in name calling. But I will not be bullied. I will not be harassed.
That was New York State Attorney General Letitia James speaking outside the courtroom after Trump testified in his civil fraud case. And this is Progressive Matters. Today, we've got a significant story that's making waves. Former President Donald Trump, the self-proclaimed real estate mogul turned commander-in-chief, has found himself in a courtroom, and it's not for one of those reality TV shows that made him famous. Trump was on the witness stand facing the heat in a $250 million civil fraud case brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James. And oh boy, did things get spicy.
In a Manhattan courthouse, it has just wrapped up, testifying under oath in the $250 million civil fraud trial. Ex-President Donald Trump gave quite a performance, if you will, from the bench, ranting angrily about the judge, the New York Attorney General, who you just saw there, as well as prosecutors. Trump was extremely combative, even for Trump.
Trump's testimony quickly turned to baseless accusations as he attacked the Attorney General's office as haters, complained about Judge Arthur Engeron being hostile, and even went on bizarre tangents making claims, of course, of election interference and murderers on the streets of New York. Trump conducted himself as if he were at just another MAGA rally, prompting the judge to refer to parts of his testimony as sounding like a broken record. Now, the Attorney General herself couldn't help but laugh at Trump's antics during the testimony. She even posted a message on social media to shush any misconceptions about her knowledge of 40 Wall Street, saying, "Don't tell him, I can see it from my office window." Trump was throwing punches at everyone. He spent most of his time on the witness stand hyping the trial like it was the next big WWE event, because that's what appeals to his voting base, railing against the trial as he called it a political witch hunt.
Just a short time ago, Donald Trump's testimony went from combative to, in the words of our NBC News producer, inside the courtroom, completely out of control. The former president ranting on the witness stand, attacking the judge for finding him guilty of committing fraud, saying, quote, "The fraud is on the court, not me." It follows several hours of repeated clashes, not just between the former president and prosecutors, but between Trump and the judge, who's been trying to keep things on track,
causing the judge to tell Trump's lawyers to control your client, and even threatening to have Trump removed as a witness, which, to be honest, would only be doing him a favor, as Trump's abilities to incriminate himself are unmatched. Eventually, the judge gave up trying to control the endless flood of hyperbole and insults and just let Trump rant to his heart's content. After one particularly long monologue, Kevin Wallace, a lawyer for the state attorney general's office, actually asked him if he was done yet, proving once again Trump's skills of self-preservation are on par with his skills as a failed businessman. Trump acknowledged in a stunning show of honesty that the valuations on the infamous Trump Tower triplex were inaccurate. The value of the apartment fell from $327 million in 2016 to roughly $160 million in 2017, which came after Forbes magazine outed Trump in 2017 for claiming the apartment was more than 30,000 square feet when it turned out to be just under 11,000 square feet. Wallace asked Trump whether he was involved in that change, to which Trump answered, "Probably," and acknowledged there might have been a mistake. The former president, of course, knows quite a bit about making mistakes, as can be evidenced by some, if not most, of the people he surrounded himself with during his presidency, like former partner in crime and Apprentice alumni Omarosa, who had this to say.
Do you think this was deliberate? It was a strategy on Trump's part, or did he, do you think, possibly just lose his sort of control and temper?
I've known Donald for almost 20 years, and I can tell you that that was not strategy. It's simply this: Donald Trump can't help himself. Even facing this huge fine, possibly $250 million, he cannot help himself. And so the folks who are saying that this was strategic, it's not strategy. Donald Trump is frustrated, and he's ticked off, and he's lashing out. That's what you're seeing in the courtroom.
Do you have any doubt that Trump himself was involved in the valuing of that asset?
Well, we have to take Donald at his own words. If he says he helped fudge those numbers, then he certainly did. But when we listen to Michael Cohen, who walked us through this process, starting when he was testifying in front of Congress, and then, of course, when he was just on the stand there, they knew that Donald Trump wanted to appear wealthier than he was, more affluent, and he wanted to stay on the important list, the Forbes list. So he's willing to do whatever he needed to do. Donald Trump can't help himself, and so if they just let him keep talking, Donald will dig a hole for himself, and that's certainly what he did today on Sunday.
The Attorney General's office spent a good chunk of time diving into Trump's loans from the Deutsche Bank. The loans are a crucial part of the case, as they allege Trump defrauded the bank with inflated financial statements. Wallace had Trump confirm that he signed each of the documents and acknowledged that they all included clauses requiring annual financial statements that were accurate, and that he maintained $50 million in unencumbered cash and a $2.5 billion net worth. Trump acknowledged the conditions on the loan, but argued his net worth is much higher than his statements ever showed, and that the loans had been paid off, stating, of course, the banks like me very much. Wallace concluded his line of questioning by asking Trump to confirm that he did not believe his financial statements inflated his net worth, to which Trump replied he thought, they were very good. Now, this is very important, because the Attorney General's office spent the time going through the various loans with Trump and the question on his financial statements, because the loans are a key part of the case. The AG's complaint alleges Trump defrauded the bank by providing the fraudulent, inflated financial statements to obtain the loans and to maintain them in the years after the initial transaction. After his initial bout of honesty, Trump could not help but resort back to bending the truth just a little bit. When questioned about his loan for the Trump International Hotel and Tower in Chicago, he said it was long since gone. However, it turns out that it was paid off just last week. Oops. And there you have it. A day in the life of a four-time indicted former president turned cult leader. It's a strange new reality show that we all have no choice but to watch. But remember, we still have many more episodes till this one gets canceled, so stay tuned to Progressive Matters, where we break down the absurdity in the world of politics and bring you a progressive perspective that matters. Until then, get educated and get out and vote.